my first instinct is to ask somebody how I can make their day better or to give somebody encouragement. And I know that's not automatic for others, but I just want to do what I can for my part in the world to maybe help somebody think, maybe I need to think of them first. Maybe I need to not insert myself and let them say what they need. Reach out. Make it warm and open for them to be able to do that to me.
It's Uncommon Good, the podcast where we chat to ordinary people doing uncommon good in service of our common humanity. I'm Pauli Reese. Fam, we got a big one for you. I bring you Erica Switzer. She is an educator, a stand-up comic, a native Chicagoan. I had the distinct privilege of meeting her while doing comedy on Zoom during the earlier parts of the lockdowns. I hope we get to meet in person someday. I do need to caution you, we've got a big content warning for this one. We get into bullying, sexual abuse, gang violence, suicidality, and there is some explicit language in this episode. So as always, if these things are not right for you to listen to, please feel free, switch this one off, and we will catch you in the next one. Moving on from there, we talk about so many different things. We talk about what it was like to do comedy abroad, in person in mainland China, and on the internet on Zoom, the differences and lessons learned, what it was like for her to teach English in mainland China, the art of the roast battle, one of her signature stylings of comedy, her takes on mentoring, what it was like to grow up in Chicago, and most importantly, the persistent determination of her creative spirit. Erica is amazing. I am so grateful that she carved out time to chat to us on the podcast. Please enjoy my chat to Erica Switzer. So I was catching up with your social media presence and was delighted to read about your time spent in like third culture teaching English to French kids in China. And as a person who also has roots in that culture but has barely spent any time in East Asia, could you tell me a little bit about what East Asia was like for you?
It was an amazing experience. To be fair, I had traveled to Shanghai and parts of Thailand in 2008. So right when United started offering that nonstop direct flight to Shanghai, I was like,
Yeah.
finally. And it was a real eye-opening experience because then 2008, there were still a lot of buses in the street. There were still people walking like 4 rows deep on the sidewalk going to work about their day. And it was a lot more industrious looking
Yes.
in the streets. And then by the time I got there in 2016, it was like New York on steroids. It was amazing. And I had always loved the fact that like the locals and a lot of the expats that I would meet were so down to earth that I kind of felt like it was like Chicago, you know? So that's why I used to make the joke I call Chicago, you know, Shanghai Junior, because we got a third of all the stuff that Shanghai's got. It was just, China's been so closed off to most of the Western world for ages, and it's just kind of opened their borders within the past 30 years, 40 years. So to have the kind of rapid development they had and to be able to see it with my own eyes in the span of 8 years was so cool. And then to travel around and just experience Thailand, Indonesia, Mongolia, just amazing. I had just the best time.
Have you noticed any lingering changes in either the content of your stand-up or the delivery from spending time over there?
If anything, I always stayed true to me, trying to speak as close to my natural language as I would speak and my cadence. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. I have to slow down and just really focus on the words. But starting my comedy career there forced me to have to deal with international crowds. At any
Yeah.
given time, we could have an audience that would be half local, 3 guys from the UK, 4 girls from Germany, a handful of Russian folks. So you're
Yeah.
speaking English to a common denominator and try to, hit that middle. And that was a great experience for me to get down to the funny and just enjoy being able to make, cultural specific jokes and stuff like that. And it's really cool.
Yeah.
I haven't changed anything. I'm rawer. Of course, I cuss more and I'm rawer here.
Right.
I can't do a whole bunch of sex is a common denominator for the whole world. So,
Sure.
make sex jokes over there, but not nearly as out there as I am here.
There was one of my favorite internet clips of you is you doing roast work. And I know that you're heading to a roast. You have another roast tonight. One of the comments that was made is that you have the delivery of just a very slow, gentle, like composed Maya Angelou doing a roast. Is that pacing? And it's not just your roast pacing, but it's your stand up too. Like your stand up is very patient. Can you tell me a little bit more about how that delivery technique of stand up has been cultivated for you?
Growing up in Maywood, Illinois, mostly black town, west of Chicago, growing up poor,
Yeah.
I was a nerd. We didn't have nothing, but we had encyclopedias. We had dictionaries and we had
Yeah.
medical books and stuff, and I read those like crazy. I didn't care that I had a Nintendo when it came out. I didn't care I had that Atari 2600. Let me know what the bomb radius is for a hydrogen bomb blast if it really does hit Chicago. Like, I was deep in the
Yeah.
books, so I couldn't help standing out in school, standing out with my teachers, and then just being that kid. So it's just a way that I talk and the way that I carry myself, and that's me being pretty authentic. Just this is it. This is Erica. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
dumb it down too much if I don't have to. And I'm not gonna talk over folks' heads. As far as the roasting thing goes, for me, part of the whole roast thing should be you shouldn't like want to cut their necks off completely. You
Yeah.
want to have a little bit of class and panache in there, and I like staying poised and just saying, hey, I'm going to say this person's name for every joke. I'm going to respectfully call them by their name and then go ahead and demolish them. So that's just how I present. And I really appreciate how Keith Carey called me. My Angela roasting.
Yeah. No, Keith was great. There's a certain brutality to, at least I've not had the privilege of doing roast work yet, but there's a certain brutality to it when you can just sort of stand there, deliver joke, and then like watch the energy of the other person just sort of deflate. Or my favorite when it comes to like that hyper masculine energy, when people start talking even faster because they're because they're just a little bit like decentered, and you've struck just the right amount of nerve to where like they're either like rewriting a joke in their head and trying to improvise, or you've gone even like the one step further and you've struck that perfect amount of nerve. Is there a way that joke writing for roasting feels different than joke writing for a conventional stand-up set to you? Or is it mostly the same process?
Again, growing up in Maywood, Illinois, roasting is a second language.
Yeah.
It is a necessary life skill. So my whole life I've been working on, now how am I going to address this person? Am I going to hit him up nicely? Am I going to hit him up meanly? I am trying to almost ether someone's soul in a room. I don't want to fully vanquish my opponent. They're still a
Yeah.
human being. I still got to perform shows with them. In the roasting, you've probably seen me in recently. Those were my buddies.
Yeah.
Well, that was
Yeah.
hard. Like the roast against Jeff, I'm like, oh, this is my brother. He's gonna pick me up in a couple of hours. I need to ride back. I can't
Yeah.
fully ether this man. Kelvin is an amazing. Kelvin Fat Guy Gregory is an amazing
Yes.
comedian out here. He's a badass. He gave me probably my toughest competition in
Yes.
roasting. But it was so fun and dignified. It was still
Yeah.
dignified for me. Even when he caught me off guard, I'm like, ooh, Jeffrey Dahmer joke. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just went in for the fun. For me, it's got to
Yeah.
be fun. Even if I got to be mean and nasty, I still want to be fun. So that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
And it kind of applies to what I do in stand up. I'm working on being even raw and more
Yeah.
vulnerable in my
Yeah.
stand up, but that enables me to get on a roast stage and just be like, I'm Teflon, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell me more about Maywood, would you? Are there any memories that stand out as formative? Like I did a little bit of research. I could tell that like you're really close to Forest Park, so you have some green space. Um, I know that there's a little bit of Frank Lloyd Wright culture around there, but please tell me more.
Maywood. We're known for Loyola Medical Center, Loyola University Medical Center, which is a great medical center in the Chicago area. We're known for Proviso East High School. Great basketball teams year after year. Shannon Brown, Dee Brown, all those great stars. Michael Finley, Doc Rivers, you know. And then there's me. And I'm trying to come out swinging. The only other non-basketball famous people from Maywood I could think of would be John Prine, the folk singer who passed away years ago. He went to Proviso East with my dad. It was awesome. And I always forget her name, but she was one of the co-founders of BET. So knowing that these people came from Maywood, coming from a poor, mostly Black, impoverished area, um, it was difficult. It's like, here's Maywood, here's River Forest, which is old money, beautiful old money, and that's probably where there's some of the Frank Lloyd Wright between River Forest and Oak Park, and then Chicago. So we're almost like an extension of the west side of Chicago, just set apart by a few suburbs. And so it was hard. I was bullied a lot because of being smart. I wound up going to gifted programs, um, and kind of finding my tribe there. And then going to Proviso East, I was back to being bullied. So again, that's where the roasting and knowing how to fend for yourself verbally before anything gets deeper, was necessary for me. So I was determined to not let my upbringing and my surroundings determine who I was, because I didn't, there were a lot of times where I didn't feel like I belonged. I would wake up on Saturday mornings and watch Shut Your Heart with my mom, the Bollywood video clip show, and we'd watch sumo wrestling and we'd watch Korean soap operas. And so I have a very, music videos were still hot in the late 80s, early 90s. I watched all them joints. Every Madonna video when it came out, every Prince video, even though my mom tried to cover my eyes. Um, every Michael Jackson video back in the day when they had to preempt The Simpsons because it was that big. Michael was the stuff. That was me. I loved that. And then I needed to be around kids that loved that too. And I got a chance to do that by going to an accelerated high school. So as much as I love Maywood, I'm from there. I was born at Loyola Medical Center. You can't take that away from me. But I want to represent it on a scale that people haven't seen before, and be able to get on stages in New York. I've gone on stage in LA and talked about being from Maywood. I'm here to represent.
There's a piece in that um that is such a resonance among like a lot of like our past and present guests of the show that like the choice to not to end like the patterns of violence and trauma and things, like choosing to interrupt that cycle. I'm just so I'm so grateful, number one, like that that is a choice that you made, and grateful to get to have experienced your comedy, um, and what little I I've had the privilege of connecting with you like as a person, um, from like the pandemic. Like we're Zoom pandemic comedy friends. So first I'll just say thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. What is is there I'm wondering if we can sort of like dig into this notion of like ending the cycle a little bit more. This is because this is something that is like a project of this podcast. And you turned it into art, into comedy, into education as well. Um are there, on the micro level, are there particular like daily choices or tricks of just the sort of like daily decision of, this is a decision that I'm making. I'm choosing art and vitality and beauty over the cynicism of brute violence, um, the boring things of making that decision. Are there things that come to mind that help you move in that direction as opposed to that cycle? Yeah.
By the time I was 14, 15, and nerding out, and stuck with going to proviso before going to the accelerated high school, in spite of being in honors classes and looking at the roll call of students and being second out of like 640 kids, there was still the good possibility that I was going to be jumped or raped into a gang. There is still the possibility of I'm hanging around this kid that knows this kid, and that's trouble. There was this one time I got beat down by a girl from around the block who was gang affiliated and all that, had a knot on my head, fighting over a boy. I was not going to continue down that path. It was threatening me physically. It was threatening me you know, mentally. It was threatening me emotionally. I got to the point where, even though we had honors classes, we had a mixed class and health class. So I'm here with some of the truant students, the students that only show up once every quarter to mess with me and the other boy in class who was my close friend. And I got to a point, they bullied me so bad. The movie Congo was out. The movie Congo was out, and the teacher played it. And there was a girl and her whole crew behind me the entire time, throwing coins and candy at me and the other guy and saying, "Hey, look, that's you on the screen." And it was devastating. And I, unfortunately or fortunately, tried to take a half a bottle of aspirin because I couldn't take it anymore. I thought, I'm getting great grades. I'm on the math team. There's still this little boy that wants to sneak me behind the bleachers for lunch, but something's got to give. I can't live like this. And so I was able to, thank God for being intelligent enough and taking all the tests and getting the recommendations from my teachers. They were like, "Oh, please go. This place is not for you." And I'm here, thank God. And so, you know, the choice well, I mean, when you already have physical, mental, emotional threats from all sides and you don't feel protected, or you're telling your parents, hey, this stuff's going on and I don't like it here. And they're like, oh, we're sorry, baby. We just wanted you to go for that first year and experience it. And it's like, but I had the opportunity to not, and I'm suffering. So I've been able to take, I'm still working on a way to take a lot of that pain and suffering and put it into material. With being gone in China for 4 years. Before that, I was married for 5, living in Colorado. So I've been gone from here for a long time. But when I came back, I started visiting some of those places. Drove past my old house. Uh, Went past Proviso East in some of those places. And some of those memories and feelings started coming back. So even though it was jarring, I'm armored, you know, with my knowledge now, with my peace of mind now, with centering myself and taking care of myself in spite of, divorce and travel, everything, and just looking back and saying, I'm going to take something and make it beautiful. And I'm going to share it with the world because they need to know. There were kids I had in Shanghai that were being bullied. Moroccan kids that didn't look like everybody else. Saying, oh, they call me a terrorist and all this other stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to have that. And I'm going to, which one? Which one told you that? That one? All right, I'll be right back. Took that kid out to the hallway and said, we're not doing that. How would you feel if you were in her shoes? So I want to do what I can to inspire not just young people, but people to really think about things like that and have more compassion and be more empathetic.
There's a thing there that compassion, empathy is not the first instinct, right? The first instinct is, here's a thing I've seen that I probably know is not true about this person, that I certainly know is not true about, broadly speaking, this identity. But I don't choose the thing of compassion and empathy when I could. I have the opportunity to make a conscious decision to not choose compassion and empathy. Ponder with me a little bit. Why do you think people choose the opposite of compassion and empathy?
There's part of me that wants to say that's the period we're in. That's the way the world looks for everybody. Everybody's first concern is themselves. Getting themselves through the day, taking care of themselves, and then hopefully next step is taking care of their family. But there should also be in spite of this rush world where people's focuses are tested and all these things are available, it's like, hey, think about this other person next to you. This is another human being with hopes and dreams and goals and fears just like you. And we don't know what people are going through. Sometimes my resting bitch face is on heavy, but I'm deep in thought. I'm happy as hell on the inside.
Yeah.
I'm beaming. I'm joyful. I woke up.
Yeah.
Bills is paid. Clothes on my back. Shoes on my feet. But, I always try to, if I see somebody else that's also looking like that, hey, I have a heart. I want to investigate. Hey, how you doing? What can I do to help? My first instinct is to ask somebody how I can make their day better or to give somebody encouragement. And I know that's not automatic for others. But I just want to do what I can for my part in the world to maybe help somebody think, maybe I need to think of them first. Maybe I need to not insert myself and let them say what they need. Reach out. Make it warm and open for them to be able to do that to me. Because I think in this world where everybody's so glued to these things and sometimes forgets how to function in life without them, we're also forgetting how to function as human beings with other human beings. And being over in Shanghai reminded me of that so heavily because, first of all, you're thrust into the Middle Kingdom. 1.4 billion Chinese, You don't look like them. You don't sound like them. Didn't come from similar situations. You're living there. So, of course, the automatic reach out to the other expats. Hey, how you doing? Hey, nice to see you. All right. If, there's an avenue for that. When I would see other
Yeah.
Black folks in Asia, because we're there, people, we're there. At one point, there was at least 300,000 Africans in Guangzhou alone.
Uh,
And they're mostly there for education.
uh.
And I'll let everybody else who's watching and listening go do their own Google research to find out. But when we see each other over there, it's the automatic nods. The automatic nod. The nod and smile for the most part, because it's like, hey, we out here. How you doing?
Yeah.
But just greeting somebody. Like, we don't even do that. So, let's bring back reaching out to other people. If anything, the pandemic has taught us in the past 3 years plus, we need each other.
We have the pleasure of being on the call today because of our perspectives being changed from Zoom, like from doing Zoom and Zoom comedy and Zoom gaming, etc., communications. The thing that strikes me, both of us have like it's a Sunday, it's a 3-day weekend. Both of us have like a solid show slate today. Like you have more gigs, I have more gigs. I'm struck by the fact that how we were forced to slow down, and now I don't know. Like, I certainly feel the tension to get back into things as quickly as possible, or like whatever like normal life might be. I don't have a question. That it's just something I noticed from what you're identifying. I wonder if in this case, speed is the enemy of the good. Is that possible?
Being in China taught me a lot about efficiency. Be speedy, but be efficient. Be competent. Know what you're doing. Get it done quickly. Otherwise, speed kills. So, I mean, there's a lot of things in 2023 that a normal cultural critic can sit back and say, nah, we're screwing up. We're not doing this thing right anymore. And speed would be one of those factors. Rushing out to produce something. Rushing, don't rush. Speed isn't always good. Quality is always going to beat out speed. Always. And we can tell. Consumers, audiences, we can tell. So even though the world is saying rush, 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 take your time. Let that thing cook.
To that end, how many iterations of a joke do you tend to work through before you get to the point where you're like, yeah, this is probably good. This feels like it's ready to be in its mostly final form?
I'm one of those comics that's always thinking about ways to tag and present older material. So even though I put more clips out recently, partially that was because I was sitting on 2 years worth of material and not caring to go back and watch and listen to myself, in spite of having to do that repeatedly with voiceovers and podcasts and stuff. But it's also material that's older that I'm looking to either workshop and expand, or it's kind of evergreen for me. Those are jokes that I've been working on for 3-4 years. In China, come over here and they got extra iterations. The finna joke becomes finna and goofy, because we're in Chicago, so feel goofy. And I'm teaching the kids, goofy. So, stuff like that. At least 3 or 4 iterations before I even put it on stage. And then from there, it could grow. Because one of the things that I'm finding myself doing a lot more since I've been performing regularly in Chicago and all over the place for the past couple years is
Yeah.
letting that magic happen, saving some room for the audience magic. Because I'm there for that audience. I'm there for
Yeah.
the people's reactions and responses. And if this one
Yeah.
girl likes that joke a little bit too much, we talk. And I'm gonna find something out, and that might come up in the next bit. I just started doing a newer bit about taking it back to being 6 and talking about video stores. And
Mhm.
a guy in the audience came up to me after the show and said, "You know what? Your set was so great. I kind of think that the video store guy in Berkeley is my dad." So that's what I'm at. I'm not so married to the material. I love the material, but I want to
Yeah.
see how it flourishes room to room and play with it and have fun.
What are the crowds like these days? Like, as we're taping in mid-January 2023, as things are reopening, how do they tend to feel?
I think crowds in Chicago are so excited.
Yeah.
Crowds at the Lincoln Lodge at Laugh Factory are ready to
Yeah.
laugh. They come in ready. And people missed not being able to have it because we had so many pause and unpause moments, while the pandemic was happening. Like, hey, let's do some open mics. Oh no, county said we got to close intermittently. Oh no, we can do some more. Hey, we got to close. So, in that wait, it was like, yo, what's gonna happen? But the crowds have been so responsive
Mm.
and so happy to be there. And
Yeah.
when I did the Black Women in Comedy Laugh Fest in New York last summer, the crowds were just magnificent. Everybody was there to laugh and pack it out and have a great time. So
It feels like we're almost in a Wild West again, like theater, comedy wise. Yes, like I be I would say that the crowds that I've done in Philly are similar. Like, people really want to be out, really want to be seeing shows. So if you got to try out your like weirdest, dumbest, like wildest idea, a thing that you thought like pre-pandemic, this could never possibly work. Pre the weirdness of adapting to internet comedy, which you still do and do well. What is that one thing? Like, my thought is like there are these periods in art when people are just like dying for art so much, and it feels like there's some sort of collective existential threat. We see it in music history, we see it in visual art, we see it in movement and theater, broadly speaking, that as soon as we all emerge from some sort of collective existential dread, trauma, world conflict, that the world is willing to just give more things a try. Certainly in Philly, like, there's lots of weird shit happening right now that would not have happened in like 2015 because all of the things that were there worked. Like, that was the era of like very conventional like things on the improv side. Like, things looked like Whose Line Is It Anyway, and looked like most every improv special that has worked. Things in stand-up looked very much stool stand and water bottle. Like, the before alt comedy started to explode in New York in 2017, as I think a reaction to Trump and some of the scandals around like UCB and things. Like, something happened, and then suddenly people are more open to trying things. Do you have that one like idea in the back of your head that you're like, let's give that a shot, or that'll never work, but now feels like the right time?
I feel what you're saying about the landscape being Wild Wild West like, but that's to the other point that you said. People have been bold and experimenting and daring and going there. There's something to be said for that. And I think the pandemic forced people to really look at their lives. We'll start there. Because how many people decided, I'm going to it's really time to shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to try comedy. Oh, I'm going to try improv. Oh, I'm going to try acting. And now people are finally giving it a chance and being bold. So you may be hearing some new voices, and some may resonate stronger than others. Some may be lasting, some may not, and that's okay. At least we're all out here trying. And I think that's the best part. You're right about the alt comedy explosion, because I used to, non-ironically and not always high, watch Tim and Eric. And it's always said all the shows.
Yeah.
And then to see all of a sudden people are saying their influences, I'm like, yo, there's room for this. And then all of a sudden you look up on SNL and here's Sarah Sherman. I'm like, wow, body horror comedy? Yes. So I love the bold steps that people are taking. And I
Yeah.
think, when music kind of got decentralized from the big companies, the big record labels not having so much control over artists and their masters, and they're going more independent, I think comedy is doing that in a huge way. Look at Andrew Schultz and his special he put out on YouTube because Netflix said it was too controversial. Look at what Earthquake did this year, thanks to Dave Chappelle on Netflix. Finally, talk about somebody who's been consistently super funny for 30 plus years. Phenomenal special. Ali Sadiq on YouTube, same thing. Phenomenal special. So for comedy, comedians, the bigger names that have the range, that have the skill and the stories and the pool, are able to corner this, to have their own market, to be more independent. And I think that's where things are going to stay. I don't think there's ever going to be some other big company that's going to come out and say, hey, all you guys get under our umbrella. I don't think everybody is just rushing to be like, oh, I want a Drive R, or oh, I want a Comedy Central. You can have it, but it's how you're going to get there. I think it's a fun landscape, and I see more opportunities for things to happen and grow and new ideas and things to be fresh than anything else. I think that outweighs any of the cons.
I will acknowledge I did not know his work until I saw the special, and I was like, this is incredible. I think one of the things that we forget is that this is now just finally this person's time and the start of that, but it represents only one point in time in the timeline of all of the craft that they've been doing for so long.
Yeah.
One of the things that those formats don't have the time to teach us is that all of the hours and days and weeks, months, years of craft.
I hadn't been writing for 3 weeks or so, and that's bad on me, bad Erica. But I had a whole bunch of voiceover stuff going on, so I couldn't, work your day job, do your voiceover stuff, go to sleep. So I didn't have the time to devote to it. But I just turned on Earthquake compilation, and it had so many hits from him doing so many topical jokes from back the tsunami in 2004, talking about stuff in 2001, talking about the Obama election in 2008. And I'm sitting here thinking, this man's had it the whole time. It was beyond, I got memories of watching Comic View with my mom as a teenager and just loving it. And there's a joke that he made that I'll never forget because I think it's on the horizon when he said, I want to put my hair in my mama name. And I just knowing how punchy he is, how just a tag monster he is. His special These Ain't Jokes was one of the only times me and my ex-husband agreed on who's very funny. And he's just a beast with it. He's a beast with it. And even it's sitting there trying to watch and be like, yeah, he tagged that. He tagged that 38 times. Okay. All right. Taking notes, but it's just like, watch the man in session and just enjoy it. It was awesome. So awesome.
I want to pivot a little bit. I want to talk a little bit more about internet comedy. Because that was how we met. We worked on a little project called Off Mic Comedy School it feels like so many years ago. What was internet comedy like for you? What was I'll rephrase, because you still do internet comedy, and there are many of the alumni of that project who are still doing internet comedy and doing it well. Others translating, and some of them also translating to the stage, but as you identified. But tell me what those of us who did transition towards internet comedy, what was that experience like for you as someone who already was doing comedy and then made the decision to at least give it a try?
The very first time I tried internet comedy was March of 2020, when I had just returned to Shanghai from spending a month in Chicago. As teachers, we were getting let go for Chinese New Year, and we were told by one of the administrators, be prepared to come back online when we start back up. So we knew something was going to happen. Within those 2 weeks, my great aunt had died, and they had her funeral. Kobe had died, and then we found out COVID was a real thing. That doctor was not making stuff up. The doctor that died from it, he was, all of a sudden he was a martyr. And I am chain smoking orange coffee flavored Korean cigarettes out my window, not caring if it's airport or not. But I'm like, ain't no way in hell I'm going to be a sitting duck in Shanghai, China. I got to get home. How am I going to do that? So it cost $450 for the first one-way ticket over there. It was going to cost me $3,600 to go one way home. And I said, okay, no, we're not going to do this. Spent about a week and a half coasting through every emotion under the moon every day, writing to my boyfriend on Messenger. And I came home on Valentine's Day of 2020 to surprise him. When I came back just after St. Patrick's Day, I was immediately placed into quarantine. Had to get off of the plane, go to a testing center, get tested within room, sit there for 6 to 8 hours, and then go on a bus back to the place and immediately get ushered upstairs by a nurse who put us in sensor on your door and say, hey, I'm coming by every day to check your temperature. That forced me to do virtual comedy for the first time. I had set something up where I was hosting an open mic, my Hey Now Comedy open mic, from my apartment in Shanghai. My buddies were down at the location in Shanghai, and then we had a few comedy buddies in Chicago join us and do some sets. So even then I was like, let's do this. I was planning on doing that already, but I had to do it from my apartment. And that was my first introduction to it. And I said, this is what's going to be happening. I loved it. When I came home and, started working with off mic, because off mic, as soon as I even got online, started doing virtual comedy, off mic was one of the first things. And I'm so grateful that you guys said, hey, let's get this funny lady on the team. I'm like, all right, cool. And that started opening up even more doors. I did the Flappers Super Bowl, the Flappers Uncle Clyde's contest. I won the Super Bowl in October 2020, sitting on boxes in my old apartment. When you come back from all that and you got to start over, baby, you got to start somehow. On this laptop sitting on the box, telling them jokes. So, it just really opened up a whole new world to me and helped me connect and network with so many cool comedians from all over the country, let alone the world. And it's been a great experience. So even though there's those folks that say, oh, it's not the same, we know it's not the same. But I've been able to do some sets where it felt the same, where I had the crowd loving it, where it's been 100 people in the room and they enjoyed it. I've seen advanced super pro comedians had me almost pee sitting watching them do a virtual show. It's there. It's a very viable medium. I don't think it's going anywhere. People just got to embrace
it. One of the things that just occurred to me to you saying that it represents a further democratization of comedy, because now you're talking about people who, for whatever reason, choose or are prevented from getting into the club, from working the crawl of the open mics, and it's a wild west again. I'm thinking of a couple of our colleagues. I'm thinking of Kyra Barron, uh, who talks a lot about accessibility in comedy. I'm thinking about uh, He Huang, who talks about like doing comedy in a non-native language. Just yeah, and once again, the opportunity for comedy to do new things because more people can access it.
Absolutely. And I gotta say, Pho is one of my favorite people in life because we met in Shanghai. And Pho did my open mic. And we met and I was like, oh yay. And we kept in touch and then we met again through off mic and I was like, ah! So I'm so happy for her and all the cool stuff that she's got going.
It's my intention slowly to get all of our great alumni. I was just chatting with actually Che today. But I'm assuming since you're taping with me now, you haven't secretly recorded a viral audition on America's Got Talent, have you? Because when her and I recorded, she had already taped Australia's Got Talent and like kept it stone cold, like stone faced the entire time. And said nothing. So you haven't just spent like 10 minutes like with Simon and Howie and Heidi and Melby, have you?
I wish. Always next year, I guess. Maybe one day. But still a little iffy about that. I mean, I love me some Simon. I think we get along fabulous. I've agreed with 99% of his choices throughout the year.
Who are the 1% that you were like or no way?
I was not a Carrie Underwood fan. I thought Bo Bice should have won that. Constantine should have been third place. That's just my opinion. And boy, he had star power. That's why he saw him on Broadway after all that. That was the Melinda Doolittle season, if I'm not mistaken. Melinda, woo! Simon was big on Melinda, and I hated that, she didn't win. But yes, I love Simon. Hi, Simon.
There was the tiniest fleeting moment where I was entertaining the idea of like a bus trip to LA to go audition for the show and to just like sit in like the walk-on line and be like Korean Frank Sinatra or something to that effect.
About to go get him with the dulcet tones. Huh?
Something like that. But I'll settle for the occasional. This is NPR. We're just about at the end of our time. I want to cover just a couple more things that are very near and dear to me. What is your morning routine like? Is there coffee? A lot of coffee involved?
College helped me grow a really bad addiction to coffee.
Yeah.
Really bad. Like roasting a whole pot for midterm and just, it was not healthy. I was skinnier back then. I had a lot of energy. I was a little hot, tight body, something cute. But I did not need to be sitting with a resting heartbeat like I just ran a 5K. So
yeah,
I cycle myself on and off coffee. Typically actually don't even touch it until after 11 a.m. My routine is when I wake up in the morning, unfortunately, I grab this thing and I need to stop.
Yeah.
I'd like to wean myself off of not reaching for it until the first hour of the day. But when I start my day, I give thanks, a lot of gratitude. I pray, I meditate, I do what I got to do to get myself right, set my intentions for the day. And I stay busy. So there's always a little notepad by me, not just for the jokes that come to mind every so often.
Yeah.
My apartment is covered with notebooks.
Yeah.
But I just, write list of 3 things I got to get done today to feel productive. and feel like I've done something or that are important. And then I just kind of let my day happen.
Nice.
I work a lot, which is why I have to let my day happen. But
Yeah.
unfortunately for me, I had gotten to a point where I had been doing so many shows and just really hadn't had any considerable time off. I think December before last December, I only had like 2 shows, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm chilling. Literally taking the last week off and doing nothing but edibles. But this time I had a few shows, and then half of them got canceled. And I was like, look, I got all this. I got the voiceovers going on. I got to do the me time. So I try to make sure at least once or twice a week there is Erica time. There is self-care time. There is run the bubble bath, turn on selection, get them good beats in your ear, that little funk, that jazz, light some candles, or just don't do anything. Just don't move. Forget the phone. Forget everything. Just be. My mind is crazy. I spend most of my days in there. Is this anything? Is this anything? Is this anything? No, it's not. Stop. Turn it off. The comedy will happen. Just relax and be. So that's where I'm at these days.
You're funny. Like, but like, I don't say that on the fan space, but it's like those of us that have been doing comedy for a long time, it's like we wouldn't keep doing it like if we weren't actually funny, right? Like that space of what I think I hear you saying is like at some point you have to learn to trust yourself and to trust your voice, so that you can just move the fuck on and get down to the real writing and the real work of doing it.
To give you an example of that, I've been on my own case so hard and up my own butt about why did you write? Stop. And I got to the Black Women in Comedy Laugh Fest, and I did my usual bits for the first couple shows, and then we had a late night Saturday night show, hotels. So you know what was gonna go down. And I said, I'm not going to sit here and drive myself crazy about what I'm going to do. There's a story that I just told at Lincoln Lodge a couple months ago. I got my notes, and then it's going with. And then I went ahead and I did that, and I had them in stitches.
Yeah.
And I had the headliner say, you a beast. That's thing. And I was, thank you. But I was so shook after that, finally trusting myself in a high-stakes situation, a midnight Saturday at New York Comedy Club, winging it when I was in the moment. Like we said, I just let it happen naturally. I experienced the thing. I remember those emotions and those feelings. I took them there. Lady up front was laughing super hard. I'm like, my sister, let's talk. You know, I mentioned dimming the lights, lighting the candles, putting the mood music on. That D'Angelo, and this one brother was like, I said, that's right, that's your jam, ain't it? How does it feel? How does it feel? And that was the tape that I submitted for the fest again. So I'm going back in June. So that was me trusting myself, getting rid of the noise, getting rid of the clutter. Because when you're out here and you got a social media following, you want to be seen, not everybody's kind to you. Not everybody's nice to you.
Yeah.
Not everybody thinks you're funny. And then when I'm here in this community, Chicago and the suburbs have just an awesome comedy community. I couldn't ask to be around a better group of people. But there's always a hater or two.
Yeah.
He ain't funny. Tell these other thousands of people that think I am.
There it is.
Keep it to yourself. Well, thank you for your feedback, but I'm going to keep doing it.
There it is. Quick speed round. Any thoughts about the relaunching-ish of Second City and IO? Do you feel any of the ripple of that?
IO is back up and running. I am going to go do a show there in 3 weeks. But I know that the director is going full throttle. And they have a lot more offerings. They revamped the space. It's so beautiful in there. And it's, again, Chicago's got the IO, the Annoyance Theater, and of course, Second City being one of the meccas. We have so many cool spaces to come practice, to come do the art, and such a supportive system. So I'm excited for them and what they got going on. Rachel Mason is over there killing it.
She's
And
incredible.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited about what they got going on and what's going to come out.
Lou Malnati's or Giordano's or none of the above?
Giordano's. I gotta get it good and goopy with the cheese. They do it right. They do it right. Lou Malnati's. It's the bite don't feel right to me. The bite ain't. I need to feel my teeth go through the crust, just the doughy, buttery, good crust, and Giordano's delivers.
Is Intelligentsia everything that it's hyped to be, or is it a little overrated?
The coffee?
Yeah.
Overhyped.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's a lot of other. I mean, that's good. There's another brand I just had. It was Dragon Tears. Was the brand or something? I forget. But I'll have to find it and link it to you. It was amazing. We had a lot of cool, coffee shops around.
Yeah. We have one last question for you. Same question we ask everybody as we're finishing up. And that is, what do you want the world to look like when you're done with it?
I want the world to look like a more compassionate, more empathetic place. And even if people don't have the wiring to be that we know sometimes some people don't have the biology. It ain't
Very true.
there for them. The chemicals ain't gonna let it happen, and that's okay. But just think about, that person probably doesn't look like all their experiences. Give them the benefit of the doubt and treat them as a person. That's the thing I want to leave with people. To speak good to each other.
It's not a bad way. Erica, so good to see you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Pauli. So good to see you and reconnect.
My thanks to my guest, Erica Switzer. Check out her website, ericaswitzer.com, and follow her on YouTube at Erica Switzer. Thank you for tuning in to Uncommon Good with Pauli Reese. This program is produced in Southwest Philadelphia on the unceded land of the Lenni Lenape tribe and the Black Bottom community. Our associate producer for this episode was Willa Jaffe. If you enjoyed listening to the show, please support us by leaving us a 5-star review and a comment and subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. It really does help people find us. Uncommon Good is also available on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Uncommon Good Pod. Follow us there for closed captioned video content and more goodies. We do love questions and feedback. You can send us a DM on social media or an email at uncommongoodpod@gmail.com. Thank you. Thank you, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, wishing you every uncommon good to do your uncommon good, to be the uncommon good.